So give it up for Alanna Francis.
All right, thanks guys. I am the second Alanna presenter of the day, so bear with me. Today we're going to talk about content marketing that is actually engaging for users. So how can you run a content marketing campaign that's going to really speak to your user base? So I want to start by going over what I've dubbed here the 5 W's of content marketing, and that's the who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how of content. So I think this is a really good way to lay the foundation for your campaign. Make sure that you're asking yourself the right questions before getting started on something like this. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, why am I doing content marketing? What are my goals? What are the things that I think are going to define success for me in this campaign? It's important to do that, because if you don't get that sort of foundational question answered in the beginning, you'll never really be able to define success. Next, you want to think about who is your content audience. So who are you trying to speak to? Who are you trying to reach? I'm very specific here to say content audience, because the content audience can be a bit different from what you consider to be your general target demographic. So we're talking about a little bit of a wider scope, and it's important to think about that user base as well, because you need to do that in order to be able to really establish what you can provide those users that's going to be valuable to them. And then you also want to think about, where on the web are your users going to be engaging with your content, as well as when and how should I market that content. And 4 and 5 really wrap together under what I call sort of the marketing part of content marketing. So the distribution, the actual promotion of the content. You do a lot of work creating that content. You need to push it out somehow. So 4 and 5 sort of tie under that. So to think a little bit more about why you should be doing content marketing, there are a lot of great reasons to run a content marketing campaign. There are also a lot of things that are not good reasons to run a content marketing campaign, and I think that those are important to touch on as well, so that you can be a little bit more realistic about what your goals should be. So one thing that's definitely not a reason to do content marketing is to become famous. And what I mean by this is to take yourself from really mom and pop soda shop to Pepsi or Coke overnight. That's just not a realistic goal of a content campaign. What content can do for you is help you establish your thought leadership. So it can take that mom and pop soda shop and make them somebody in the industry who's talking about things that affect that industry, talking about health issues that might affect their consumers, anything that the general population consuming that product could be interested in. Content marketing is also definitely not going to drive sales tomorrow. It's really not an immediate sort of ROI campaign. You don't want to think about it that way, because you'll probably just be disappointed. What it is really effective at doing is building relationships. So by running an effective content marketing campaign, you can build relationships with an audience, and that's the audience that eventually is going to turn into your sort of more sales-driven element. Content marketing, definitely not going to get you to rank #1 organically for all your keywords. Content is a huge part of any SEO campaign. It's very critical to running an effective SEO campaign, but it's not going to turn things around for you overnight. It's not really like a one-to-one content marketing keyword rankings relationship. It can help you grow your brand awareness, though, and that's key. So content marketing can help you get mentioned on other sources and ideally drive some really organic, natural links back to your website. And those are going to ultimately help with your SEO efforts. And then finally, content marketing is probably not going to make you go viral. And you might get a little bit annoyed at me later when I show an example of a content marketing campaign that did go viral. But that's, by and large, not really going to be the case. Content marketing can really effectively help you engage with your target audience, though. So to speak a little bit more in depth about audience, I mentioned this in my intro. It's really important when you're embarking on a content campaign to think long and hard about who the audience of the campaign is and how that audience might be a little bit different or a little bit broader than what I've termed here your actual customers. And the example that I always use at Blue Found Media is if somebody in the marketing department comes to me and sends me a link to an article from the blog of a software company. And that's a really great article. It taught me something, or it showed me a trick that I didn't know about. I'm going to remember that for later when maybe we have a need for that software. And if nothing else, I might share that around to other people in the company, other people in the industry. So that article is contributing to the thought leadership of that brand. So even though that marketer who brought me the link might not be the decision maker at the company, they're still an important target audience from a content perspective. So now we're going to go into some fun examples of good content. And this is the exciting part, I guess, if you can call it that. I want to talk about some content that's a little bit more unique than what we normally think of as content marketing. So a lot of times we just think of a blog series or a company blog. Content is so much more than that, and there are a lot of different things that you can be doing to enrich that overall campaign. So the first is video, and this is an example. This is the aforementioned viral example from Chipotle. They put together this cartoon video. It's an imaginary world where everything is factory farmed, everything's totally manufactured, and it's all sort of hidden behind closed doors. I definitely recommend watching it if you get a chance. It's really well done. And what I think is really great about this example is that this video is not about Chipotle. It's not about why they have the best burrito bowl, but it's about something that's important to their brand, something that's key to their brand, which is food production and ethical production of the ingredients that go into their food. But that's also something that's emotionally appealing to everybody who eats food. And this video has a tremendous emotional appeal as well. So on a smaller scale, white papers are a great example of some longer form content marketing that can be really effective at demonstrating thought leadership, obviously because it's a longer medium and you have more space to sort of really hammer home your expertise. What's also great about white papers is that there's this inherent sort of at least semi-qualified lead generation that happens, because it's very common for companies to ask for a name and an email address in exchange for the download of the white paper. So there's that added value you get there as well. And this is a BFM campaign. If you have questions about it, I encourage you to ask one of the marketers. Events. I'm going to get a little bit meta here and reference the event that we're currently at in my event presentation. But events where you demonstrate thought leadership are a great form of content marketing as well. We're providing value, trying to teach people something, trying to give them something that's valuable to them. And then you're producing all this content that you can use later, videos, presentations, etc. Q&A is another great form of content marketing. This campaign was run by McDonald's. I love it. I think it's amazing. I want to go back to this site when I leave here. What it is it's a campaign run by McDonald's Canada where they put up a microsite just dedicated to answering people's questions about McDonald's products, which is, I think, a really honest and genuine and sort of game-changing move for a company like McDonald's, which definitely has a lot of negative conversations surrounding that brand, right? And they don't shy away from putting the awkward questions on this site, like, how can you eat 3 meals a day at McDonald's and not suffer health problems? So they're putting it all out there. The answers are really easily shared. You can see social sharing buttons at the bottom there. And to speak a little bit to what I said before about audience, I can't remember the last time that I ate at a McDonald's, and I probably won't anytime soon. So I'm not actually a patron of their restaurant, but this makes a difference for me as a consumer. So I'm sort of naturally a little bit thinking more positively about this brand. I'm here today telling all of you about it. So it can change the conversation even for people who aren't necessarily in your target demographic. And then finally, visual data is another great example of really engaging content marketing. So this is an interactive infographic published by Warby Parker. It's actually their annual report, and they've done this for the past 2 years. It's just a page on their site where you can scroll through the entire sort of rotating calendar year, and all of their annual report data is represented visually there. This is something that they email, they put it on their social channels, I actually read it. So it's an example of something that's typically maybe a little bit boring turned into something that's really engaging for people who care about that brand. So before I leave you, I want to talk just a little bit about the marketing and content marketing, because content marketing is definitely not an if you build it situation. You can't expect to invest all of your time in the creation of high quality content and then just have people discover it. Sometimes that happens, but it's very rare. So you want to actually reserve time and money to invest in promoting your content. So that means pushing it out via your social networks. Even in this example, we created a tab where the white paper can be downloaded right from Facebook, right from the initiating interaction. Emailing that content out to your existing subscriber base, so maybe people who have indicated some interest in your brand by subscribing to a newsletter but haven't converted as users yet or as customers yet. Hopefully by sending this out, you're pushing them a little bit further down the funnel, or at least putting yourself back on the radar. And then also investing in paid promotion of your content, whether that be Facebook ads, ads on targeted blogs, or search ads as well. So just making sure that this is sort of the final step, and a lot of effort goes into the creation of the content, but make sure that you save some steam to actually promote it at the end of that. So that's it. Thanks, guys.